Ashish is a 50-year-old single father who falls for a woman half his age, Aisha. He wants his family to approve of her, but she needs to win over his difficult ex-wife, Manju, and kids who are as old as her. Johnny is excited about celebrating his bachelor's party with his friend, Ashish. He's disappointed to see no strippers and a tired Ashish who wants a quiet night in with drinks and music. Ashish doesn't believe in paying for sex or pleasure, and asks Johnny to think about his fiancée, Hema. Ashish is 50 years old, and thinks his 32-year-old friend is being naive. Aisha makes a grand entrance and asks around for the groom. She throws Johnny into a chair and starts stripping for him. When she sits on his lap, Hema turns up and is disgusted with him. Hema feels she's making a mistake marrying him, but he justifies it by claiming he didn't sleep with anyone. Aisha is Hema's friend, who helps her determine whether Johnny is loyal. Aisha assures Hema that he is innocent and is not into it. She sits on his lap and suggests he is only excited because of the peer pressure. Surely that is believable. Ashish asks Johnny to play along, so he also apologizes to Hema and asks her to trust him. After they make up, they all enjoy a party at Ashish's place. Well, that was easy. Aisha gets drunk and keeps pouring drinks for everyone. Ashish keeps looking at her as she steals alcohol and keeps dancing throughout the night. When everyone leaves, he hears Aisha in his bathtub. He tries to wake her up but knows she is out when she uses the hand shower as a phone. Aisha wakes up in bed and finds out that she's nude. She assumes she slept with Ashish and tries to pretend she had a lot of fun. She clarifies that she doesn't want him to have expectations because she's not looking for a relationship. She assures him this has nothing to do with him being much older than her. When she learns she slept in his guest room, she's surprised he didn't have sex with her. Well, this is awkward. She wonders why an older man like him didn't take his chance with her. Ashish clarifies that he doesn't sleep with drunk women. He wants her to be aware of what she's doing. How noble. At Johnny and Hema's wedding, Aisha dances and keeps flirting with Ashish. He keeps looking at her but pretends he's only interested in his drink. Aisha thinks he's still regretting not taking a chance with her. At least she's modest. She feels their friends look happy and is glad she convinced them to not call the wedding off. She doesn't understand this kind of love, where a woman needs to test a man's loyalty. She thinks sleeping with someone once can't make a person fall in love, or out of it. When Ashish suggests people can fall in love without sex too, she's sure he's flirting with her. She makes up a formula to convince him that he's too old for her. She still doesn't care too much, and claims she will call him if she's in the mood. Ashish discusses with his therapist, Samir, that their 24-year age gap doesn't seem too much to him. Of course it doesn't. Samir feels it's more like a generation gap and is sure Aisha has daddy issues. Ashish feels it should be fine for a man and a woman to casually flirt, but Samir seems certain she likes him because he's rich. Ashish doesn't like Samir's negativity, especially since his practice isn't doing well. He keeps borrowing money from Ashish but doesn't admit it. When Ashish is at work, Aisha asks him to meet her at the bar. She makes him serve her customers and feels the older men are very cute. He jokes about her having a thing for older people. She explains that she came to London from India to study and bartends on the weekends for extra cash. She works as an engineer on weekdays, but the bar is something she likes doing. Ashish explains that he invests in young companies that have scope, so he can reap the benefits later. She doesn't want to go home because her roommate's irritating boyfriend is over. He offers to let her stay at his place, but she refuses. As someone gives a pitch about helping older men who can't get younger ladies, he gets a call from Aisha. The irony isn't lost on him. She hopes his offer to let her stay at his place is still valid, and he assures her she'll be safe. Akash is nervously strolling back and forth with flowers in his hand outside Aisha's apartment. He is trying to win back the girlfriend he cheated on, and has made a song to convince her to. Good luck with that. Ashish assumes he's there for Aisha's roommate, but realizes Aisha is his ex-girlfriend. Didn't see that coming. Aisha reminds Akash she broke it off a long time ago and doesn't want anything to do with him. He assumes Ashish is her dad and keeps trying to make her give him another chance. She kisses Ashish on the cheek to make it clear he's not related to her, but Akash doesn't get the hint. Aisha admits Akash is the boyfriend she claimed was her roommate's. Since he cheated on her within a month of dating, she doesn't want anything with him. Ashish is unbothered and keeps humming the song Akash made for her. That's the level of calm we want. Akash follows Aisha to Ashish's place and keeps begging her to give him another chance. She locks the room and closes the blinds. Ashish tries to make him understand that their breakup is for the best. Akash takes him seriously as an older man who insists Akash can get someone better than Aisha. He convinces Akash that Aisha is using him and urges him to have some self-respect and value himself. He asks Akash to ignore Aisha, so she understands his value. This will surely work out. Speaking of working out, Aisha wakes up to find Ashish at the gym. She's impressed to see him boxing and teases him about making an effort for her. She keeps teasing him about his age and still thanks him for getting rid of Akash. She still feels he's very fit and makes him uncomfortable by begging him to show her his body. He feels conscious and locks himself in the changing room. He takes her for breakfast and admits that he has been in London for 16 years. His ex-wife, Manju, and his kids, Ishika and Ishan, are back in India. He wanted to live life on his own terms, so he left them. He got married to Manju when they were very young. They realized they wanted different things, so they mutually agreed to separate. Because every breakup is obviously mutual. He knows he's selfish and a terrible father, but feels he would have been worse if he stayed back. Aisha still feels he's cool for his age. Ashish thinks she keeps bringing up his age because she can't believe she's attracted to him. Samir tries to psychoanalyze his situation and thinks Aisha wants to take over his house. Such accurate judgment. Ashish knows he's not the first guy in the world who's interested in a younger woman. They try to think of examples of such successful relationships, but Samir still thinks Ashish has a problem. Ashish thinks Samir wants him to have a problem so he can keep sending him bills for these sessions. I can't argue with that. Aisha has cooked for him that night, but he claims he doesn't like lentils. He knows it's terrible from her expressions, so he suggests they should eat out to not hurt her feelings. Aisha can't get over the cutlery at the fine dining restaurant. She doesn't like they have a different spoon for everything and feels the place is too expensive. He knows she wants to eat somewhere else, so they walk out. As she rants about the prices at the restaurant, they get mugged. Ashish simply hands over the money and his watch, but Aisha feels he should fight them. She reminds him he knows boxing, but Ashish insists he only does it for fitness. She asks what he would do if they attacked her, so Ashish starts beating them up. The action sequence seems like a Bollywood movie to her, and she wants to see one of them fly. Great expectations. Ashish takes back his stuff and extra money from the thug's wallet for troubling his woman. Aisha teases him about putting his life at stake for her. He thinks she is hungry for attention and makes him beat up the poor guys for no reason. I mean, looking cool is a reason. Aisha asks for the money he took from the thug, but he wrestles her for it. They go their separate ways, but she comes to his room that night and sleeps with him. They start dating, and he loves how free-spirited she is. She takes him to places and shows him how she lives. They invite Samir for dinner, who brings up prenup to try and scare Aisha. When will this guy stop? Ashish asks her to not take him seriously, because this is why no one invites Samir for dinners. Aisha hears Samir asking Ashish about his plans for marriage and kids with her. She asks him the same question when they're alone, and feels she wants these things at some point. Ashish knows she must want marriage and kids after a few years. He's already 50 and has been a bad father and a husband. He doesn't want more kids if he can't be present in their lives. He makes her realize how weird it will be if he's 70 by the time his kid is in college. Aisha also knows this won't work out between them, and everyone will assume she likes him for his money. She knows if they get married, he will have to make the same mistakes and get into the same patterns. She will also feel like she's living a stale life he has already lived with someone else. She hates how sensible he is, but he's also sure he doesn't want to make fake promises. He knows they love each other, but feels it's a habit they need to get over. They break up cordially, and she drops her to her place. Funny how all this is based on assumptions. They start doing things alone after that, but he keeps missing her. She also hates being alone and remembers him when she spots cutlery at a restaurant. Some people have memoirs. They have cutlery. She runs from her own date and gets jealous of a woman Ashish is dating. She admits she can't forget him and asks him to let her be his habit at least. Whatever that means. They have decided to get back together, so Ashish wants to introduce her to his family in India. He hasn't met them in a few years, and she's also excited about getting their approval. Aisha is nervous before the meeting. She feels he should avoid mentioning they met when she was dressed as a stripper. Probably a good call. Ashish seems sure his family will be happy they love each other. This will surely turn out well. Ishika is offended that he's back and doesn't allow him to enter the house. Ashish's mom, Suman, seems excited to see him, but swears she didn't call him. Even his dad, Virendra, doesn't think he can call this place his home when he doesn't even know the color of the walls. Fair point. At least Ishan is happy to see him and gets excited when Manju walks in. She asks Ishika to not create a scene and heads inside. She explains to Ashish that Ishika's boyfriend Rishi is coming with his father, Atul, the next day to discuss marriage. Manju introduces herself to Aisha, but Ashish hesitates and claims she's his secretary. Wow, this is surely not helping him. Ashish is mad that no one told him Ishika is getting married. He's worried they won't invite him to the wedding too. That might be a possibility. Manju assures him they're all meeting Rishi's family for the first time. Virendra still feels Ashish is useless because he wouldn't have come to the wedding from London too. Ishika also doesn't want his approval, but Ashish at least wants to meet the guy. Fair enough. Ishika has already told Rishi and his family that her father is deceased. Ashish feels insulted, but Ishika is more uncomfortable with an outsider like Aisha being a part of this. That has to hurt. She steps out, but Vakil, who lives in one of their cottages, brings fresh strawberries for Manju. Ishika wants Vakil to stay for this discussion because he's not an outsider to her. Vakil moved into town 6 months ago and decided to stay after meeting Manju. He's not subtle at all, especially with the looks he shares with her. He hasn't heard about Ashish, but tries to bond with him since they work in finance. Vakil makes sure to taunt Ashish for being the king of men who chase money more than his family. Vakil already knows Ishika has told her future in-laws about Ashish's apparent demise. Ishika wants Ashish out of the house before Rishi comes. She also feels Ashish is trying to ruin her life. Well, this wasn't expected. Manju explains to Ashish that they can't admit they lied about something so huge. They agree that Ashish needs to be introduced to them as a distant relative. Vakil suggests that Ashish should pretend to be Manju's brother, which will also give him inside access. Virendra loves the idea, and no one thinks it's weird. Manju assumes Aisha will stay at a hotel, but Ashish insists she needs to stay with them. He claims she's his responsibility, so Manju thinks of an arrangement. She feels Ishan can share a room with Ashish, while Aisha can stay in Ishika's room. Ishika doesn't like this either, but no one cares about her constant ranting. Ishan shows Aisha to her room and seems to be in love with her. Aisha tries to sit next to Ashish at dinner, but Manju beats her to it. This is getting worse. Aisha plans to move to a hotel, but Manju asks her not to stress about it. Virendra feels, since Ashish is much older than her, Aisha should address him as Sir and not by his name. Aisha remembers that Ashish doesn't like lentils, but Manju is sure he likes what she makes. She also gives Aisha a nasty look. This is getting more exciting. Ishan is clearly crushing on Aisha and wonders how old she is. This will also not end well. Ashish tries to ignore him, but gets a message from Aisha, who wants to meet. He asks her to come out through a secret passage so they can talk. She shouts at him for calling her his secretary. He claims he couldn't tell everyone about her right away, especially since Ishika was so worked up. Ishika's wedding has stressed him out, and he doesn't want anyone to know till after Rishi and his dad leave. He assures her he's also feeling uncomfortable, but she thinks he's a coward. Let's hope this works out. She's also mad at him for not mentioning his kids are her age. Ashish mistakes Aisha for Ishika in the morning, since she's wearing her clothes. Aisha explains that she only got sexy lingerie for the night, since she assumed she would be sleeping with him. Well, this is awkward. Ashish comforts Ishika before the meeting, but she clarifies that he is stressing her out. Atul is impressed with the cottages and Manju's property. Atul finds it weird that Manju's brother, Ashish, is also part of their close family gathering. Virendra claims Ashish surprised all of them, since they didn't expect him either. Well, this is actually true. Rishi remembers that Ishika's dad's name was also Ashish, but they make it sound like a coincidence. Thankfully, Ashish is a common name. Atul asks about Ashish's family and learns that he's separated. Vakil brings apples from his orchard for them, and Aisha is again introduced as Ashish's secretary. Atul asks Manju about the preparations for the wedding, but she wants the kids to decide. Rishi insists there's no hurry, and Ishika suggests they want to live together before getting married. Atul feels that's out of the question, but Ashish insists it's a good step. He thinks the kids are sensible for wanting to figure out they are compatible. He's sure this will help them know each other better, and doesn't think live-in is a big deal. Atul doesn't understand live-in, and asks Ashish to not give relationship advice when his own didn't work out. Wow, this is getting ugly. Ashish claims he would have suggested the same for his own daughter. Atul is glad he's getting Rishi married to Manju's daughter, and not his. If only he knew. When Ashish walks out, Anju insists she can discuss this with Atul the next day. Aisha comes to check on Ashish, who feels Ishika and Rishi are being sensible and bold. He knows it takes a lot of courage to suggest such an idea, when rejection is a sure possibility. Aisha jokes about ending Atul and feels that it will end their problems. He's glad to have her support, but feels he should sort out the mess he made. He hears Ishika ranting to Manju about Ashish interfering. She confronts Ashish and claims she doesn't need his support. Wasn't he defending her? Ishika still doesn't want him to ruin things for her. Manju makes Ashish realize it's not easy for the kids when he suddenly comes back into their lives. Ashish understands that, but asks Manju to support Ishika when she's trying to do the right thing. He's proud that Ishika is like him and is not afraid of expressing her views. Isn't he the one hiding his relationship? Manju makes Arul understand that Ishika and Rishi should be able to meet whenever they like. They don't need to tell them if they're living together, but she insists it should only be after they are engaged. Atul is convinced by her argument and agrees to wait a few months for marriage after the engagement. Manju surely seems to have a lot of power. Aisha is trying to make something healthy for breakfast, but Manju taunts her about not liking their home food. Manju puts Ashish in a difficult position and insists he should eat the lentil stuffed parathas she made. With another look from her, Aisha is sure Manju is messing with her intentionally. Ashish refuses to admit that, but Aisha knows she will retaliate if Manju makes another jab at her. This could surely get ugly. Aisha pictures something happening between Manju and Ashish and gets disturbed. Ishika's grandparents are dancing to old songs, and even Ashish feels they don't make such good songs anymore. Manju makes sure to point out that they're from a different generation, and Aisha comes in the category of the kids. When will this end? Manju also points out how Aisha probably wasn't even born when this song came out. Aisha decides to retaliate and comments on how old Manju is. She makes Manju feel uncomfortable by explaining how exciting it is to be a younger woman. Ishan is glad Aisha is only 5 years older than him and is already planning a life with her. Who will tell the poor boy? Ashish chooses to ignore that and pretends he's asleep. Ashish likes that Manju has still kept their old car and feels they should go on a drive with Aisha. Manju remembers that they bought this car at their wedding. While discussing the reliability of the car, she subtly points out how an old relationship like theirs always lasts. Aisha feels new cars are better, but Manju remembers how the new one they bought didn't even last for a year. Aisha knows this is another jab at her, so she keeps insisting that something new is always better looking and more exciting. Someone really turned up the heat. Just when Manju claims this car has never broken down in the middle of the road, it does. What timing? Aisha feels victorious as they push the car back to the house. She comments on Manju spraining her back and makes sure she knows Ashish gives a great massage. Manju takes her suggestion seriously and asks Ashish to give her a massage. Did not see that backfiring. Aisha tries to overhear what's happening in the room. Ashish claims he gave Aisha a massage only once while traveling when she hurt her back. Nice save. Manju still makes sure to make loud sexual noises so Aisha can clearly hear them. She pretends to be embarrassed when she's out of the room and thanks Aisha for the suggestion. Aisha gives Ashish a look of disapproval he doesn't understand. No one can save him now. Ishan asks Ashish for his help so he can date Aisha. Wow, this did get worse. Ashish claims it's against his company rules and refuses to let Ishan date her. During the festival of Rakhi, which celebrates the bond between a brother and sister, Vakil insists Manju needs to tie a thread to Ashish. None of them can protest, since Atul still believes they're siblings. Ashish finds it weird, but Vakil is carrying around a thread in his pocket so he can witness this moment. It seems like someone wants no competition. This puts Manju in a spot, so she ties a thread to Ashish. Aisha is frustrated that she's competing with Manju to prove who knows him better. Ashish promises to sort this out, but Aisha crushes a tomato in anger. Ishan lovingly cleans her hand and reminds Ashish that Manju is calling him. Vakil claims Manju's food has made him a better man. This guy somehow never tires. Ashish asks them about wine tasting, but Atul feels drinking in front of kids is wrong. He drinks generally, but feels Ishan is at an impressionable age. Aisha feels he needs Manju's approval for her, but Ashish just wants her to know the family a little. That is kind of almost done. Aisha reminds him that his son is in love with her, and there's no way she can explain the situation. Ashish knows she's upset, so he starts singing and dancing for her. He ropes in the whole family and takes Aisha aside when everyone is engaged. She's happy to get this attention and hugs him, but Ishika finds them getting close. She throws Aisha's bags out of her room and asks Ashish to leave. Manju tries to calm her down, but Ishika creates a scene because she doesn't want to deal with Ashish's lies. Ashish admits Aisha is his girlfriend, and he brought her there to introduce them. Ishika refuses to be a liar like him, so she confesses that he's her dad in front of Rishi. Atul respects Manju, but he refuses to let his son get married to this family. Manju asks Pintu to keep Aisha's luggage in the cottage, while Ashish follows them in. Ishika and Virendra start attacking him, but Manju asks them to calm down. She feels Ishika should take responsibility for ending her own relationship because of the lies she told. She reminds them their separation was mutual, but the entire family took her side after the breakup. She is grateful for their support, but feels they need to stop blaming Ashish for everything. Aisha understands that Ashish needs to mend his broken relationship and end things with her. Ashish just asked her to get some rest while he discusses something with Manju. Ashish apologizes to Manju, who is tired of always being the responsible one. She tears up and kisses him. She asks Ashish to not tell Aisha that they slept together, but he does. Ashish still thinks it's not a big deal because they're not getting back together. What a convincing explanation. Aisha is pissed that he has discussed this with Manju. She's angrier when she learns Ashish and Manju are technically still married because they never signed divorce papers. Ashish didn't think papers mattered over the years, but Aisha now feels bad for being the other woman in his life. Aisha decides to leave because she thinks Ashish is really disrespecting her now. She moves to London, while Ashish feels guilty about Ishika's broken heart. He begs Atul to take her back, and brings Rishi on his shoulders for Ishika. When she finally hugs him, Manju feels relieved. Manju knows he is missing Aisha, and teases him about how young she is. They become good friends, and Ashish is there for Ishika in her wedding festivities. Manju turns up at Aisha's bar, and explains that Ashish only loves her as the mother of his children. She explains how different that is from the love he has for Aisha. Manju knows Ashish was trying to support her more than cheating on Aisha. She feels like Ashish couldn't say no to her in her weak moment, because he couldn't walk out on her again. She has initiated the divorce process and insists it's impossible to fall in or out of love after sleeping with someone once. Since this is something Aisha once said herself, she understands. Manju turns up late for Ishika's engagement with Aisha behind her. Aisha teases Ashish for sending his ex-wife to convince her. Ashish admits he's ready to do everything all over again as long as he gets to be with her. Ishika also accepts them, and Virendra teases Ishan about having Aisha as his new mother. Ashish encourages Vakil to try his luck with Manju, but Atul is already flirting with her. Now that things are sorted, Ashish wonders when Aisha wants to get married. She reminds him only half the work is done because he still has to convince her family that he's good enough for her. They start arguing about it and are scared of how they'll manage to convince her family too.